Welcome back to the channel, my dear history lovers. This tiny coin looks ordinary. A small copper circle only 19 millimeters wide, light in your hand, easily ignored in a pocket full of loose change. Millions of people have spent it without a second thought. But what if the 1-cent coin sitting quietly in a jar or hidden in a drawer is not worth 1 cent at all? What if a simple Liberty coin from 1971, struck in Denver with the small D mint mark, could secretly hold a value hundreds, thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of times greater than its face value? The truth about the Liberty 1-cent 1971 D Lincoln penny is that its story is filled with surprising minting mistakes, fascinating history, and rare varieties that collectors constantly search for. A coin that was produced by the billions can still hide rare examples that transform everyday pocket change into a collector's treasure. The United States 1-cent coin featuring the portrait of Abraham Lincoln has been part of American history for more than a century. The design first appeared in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, making it the first regular United States coin to feature a real historical figure rather than a symbolic Liberty figure. The design was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, whose portrait of Lincoln on the obverse quickly became one of the most recognizable images in American currency. For decades the coin evolved through different reverse designs while keeping the famous Lincoln portrait on the front. By the time the year 1971 arrived, the penny had already passed through many historical changes, economic shifts, and minting experiments. The 1971 Lincoln cent belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Series, which ran from 1959 to 2008. This version replaced the earlier wheat ears design on the reverse with an image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Inside the memorial, if viewed closely under magnification, the statue of Abraham Lincoln can even be seen between the columns. This subtle design detail made the coin unique among world currencies because it showed the same historical figure on both sides of the coin. In 1971 the United States Mint produced pennies at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins had no mint mark, the Denver coins displayed a small letter D under the date, and the San Francisco coins either appeared as proof coins or circulation strikes with the S mint mark. The Denver Mint was responsible for producing an enormous share of the nation's pennies that year. More than 2.9 billion 1971 D Lincoln cents were struck, making it one of the most heavily produced coins in the history of the United States. At first glance, such a massive mintage might suggest the coin is common and nearly worthless. In ordinary circulated condition most 1971 D pennies are still worth only a few cents to collectors. Even well-preserved coins typically sell for less than a few dollars, though exceptional mint state pieces graded around MS-65 can bring around $20 or more. Yet within those billions of coins lies a hidden world of minting accidents, rare die varieties, and striking anomalies that can make certain examples extraordinarily valuable. Coin collectors, known as numismatists, carefully study these errors because each one represents a unique moment when the complex machinery of the mint produced something unexpected. The process of creating a coin is surprisingly intricate. First, a blank metal disc called a planchet is punched from a sheet of metal. The planchet is then cleaned and prepared before entering a high-pressure coining press. 2 engraved steel dies strike the planchet simultaneously, imprinting the design onto the metal with tremendous force. In modern minting presses, hundreds of coins can be produced every minute. Because of this speed and mechanical complexity, small mistakes occasionally occur. When these mistakes escape quality control and enter circulation, they become collectible mint errors. One of the most famous varieties connected to 1971 Lincoln cents involves the phenomenon known as the double die. A double die occurs during the process of creating the coin's working die. If the die receives 2 impressions from the master hub that are slightly misaligned, the resulting coins display a doubled appearance in parts of the design. On a 1971 penny, this doubling is often visible in the word Liberty, the date, or the phrase "In God We Trust." Collectors value double die coins because the doubling occurs during die creation rather than after the coin is struck. That means every coin produced by that die carries the same doubling, creating a recognizable and collectible variety. Depending on its clarity and condition, a double die 1971 penny can sell for hundreds or even more than $1,000. Although the most famous double die examples come from the Philadelphia Mint, similar doubling effects can occasionally appear on coins from Denver as well. When collectors examine a 1971 D penny under magnification, they often look closely at the letters of Liberty and the numbers of the date to see whether any shadow-like doubling appears. Another fascinating error associated with the 1971 D penny involves repunched mint marks. In earlier decades the mint mark letter was punched into the working die by hand. If the mint worker accidentally struck the letter slightly off position and attempted to correct it with another punch, the result was a repunched mint mark. Under magnification, the mint mark may appear doubled or show small overlapping outlines of the letter D. Repunched mint marks are particularly interesting because they reveal the human element in coin production. Before modern automated engraving methods were introduced in the 1990s, many steps in die preparation required manual work by mint technicians. Each repunched mint mark tells the story of a tiny correction made decades ago in the die workshop of the Denver Mint. Another type of error that can dramatically increase the value of a 1971 D Lincoln cent is the off-center strike. In this situation the planchet is not perfectly aligned between the dies when the coin is struck. As a result, part of the design is missing and a blank crescent shape appears along the edge of the coin. The amount of misalignment determines the rarity and value of the piece. Coins that are slightly off-center may sell for a few tens of dollars, while those showing dramatic misalignment with a visible date can command much higher prices. Some off-center 1971 pennies have sold for between $15 and $250 depending on how extreme the error is. Clipped planchet errors represent another intriguing possibility. During the manufacturing of planchets, large sheets of copper alloy are punched with circular cutters that create the blank discs used for coins. If the sheet shifts slightly during punching, part of a previously cut circle may overlap with the next punch. This produces a coin with a curved section missing from its edge. Such clipped planchet pennies from 1971 can sell for anywhere between $15 and $100 or more depending on their size and condition. The 1971 D Lincoln cent is also known for die cracks and cuds. A die crack forms when the steel die begins to fracture after thousands of strikes. The crack allows metal from the planchet to flow into the gap, leaving a raised line on the finished coin. When a piece of the die actually breaks away near the edge, it can produce a large raised blob of metal known as a cud. Collectors often enjoy these dramatic errors because they clearly reveal the stress and wear experienced by minting dies during high-speed production. Sometimes the letters of Liberty on a 1971 penny display a curious anomaly called the BE error. This occurs when a die crack forms between the letters B and E, creating a small vertical mark that resembles the letter I. Although such errors are relatively common, they still attract collectors and may sell for several dollars depending on their appearance. Another rare possibility is the struck-through error. This occurs when a foreign object such as grease, lint, or metal debris becomes trapped between the die and the planchet during the strike. The object prevents part of the design from forming properly, leaving an unusual depression or missing detail on the coin's surface. These errors can vary widely in value, sometimes selling for $10 to $100 or more depending on how dramatic the effect appears. Beyond these commonly recognized errors, the world of 1971 D penny collecting includes even more unusual varieties. Some coins show rotated dies, meaning the obverse and reverse are not perfectly aligned when the coin is flipped. Others display weak strikes where parts of the design appear faint due to insufficient striking pressure. Occasionally collectors discover coins struck on incorrect planchets or coins that were struck multiple times in the press. Among the most dramatic possibilities is the multi-strike error. In rare cases a coin fails to eject from the press after the first strike and is struck again while partially rotated. Each additional strike leaves another impression of the design, creating a chaotic overlapping image. Such pieces can appear almost surreal, with multiple portraits of Lincoln or repeated lettering across the coin. Stories occasionally emerge of extremely rare multi-strike 1971 D pennies selling for extraordinary sums. One reported example described a triple-struck coin showing overlapping images of Lincoln and repeated lettering throughout the design. Only a handful of such pieces are believed to exist, and some collectors speculate that examples in high grade could reach values approaching $1 million in private sales. Although such extreme examples are incredibly rare, the possibility that similar coins could still be hidden in circulation continues to excite collectors. The idea that a life-changing discovery might be sitting unnoticed in a jar of pennies has fueled the hobby of coin roll hunting for decades. Condition also plays a major role in determining the value of a 1971 D Lincoln cent. Even without errors, coins that remain in pristine mint state can command strong prices among collectors. Numismatic grading systems classify coins on a scale ranging from poor condition to perfect mint state. A coin graded MS65 or higher displays sharp details, minimal marks, and original mint luster. Because billions of pennies entered circulation and experienced heavy wear, truly high-grade examples are less common. Color is another factor collectors consider. Copper coins gradually change color as they age. Freshly minted pennies display a bright reddish tone known as red. Over time, oxidation darkens the surface into red-brown and eventually brown. Coins that retain their original red color are usually more desirable and valuable than those that have darkened. For example, a 1971 penny graded MS-65 with full red color can bring significantly higher prices than the same coin in brown condition. Although many collectors focus on rare errors, high-grade color varieties also form an important part of the market. The copper composition of the 1971 penny also contributes to its historical significance. At that time, the coin was made from an alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This composition had been used for decades in U.S. cents and gave the coin its familiar reddish appearance. Rising copper prices in later years eventually forced the United States Mint to change the composition in 1982 to a zinc core coated with copper. Because the 1971 penny was produced before that transition, it represents the classic copper era of American cents. Some collectors even value these coins for their metal content alone, although the copper value generally remains only slightly above the coin's face value. Despite the enormous mintage, the 1971 penny remains a fascinating example of how rarity can emerge from abundance. When billions of coins are produced, even a tiny fraction containing unusual errors can create hundreds or thousands of collectible varieties. Over decades of circulation, many of these coins have been lost, damaged, or melted, making surviving examples even more interesting to collectors. The search for rare coins has become a popular hobby known as coin roll hunting. Enthusiasts obtain rolls of coins from banks and carefully examine each piece under magnification. The thrill of the hunt lies in the possibility that a rare error coin might appear unexpectedly among ordinary pennies. Many collectors begin their journey by examining coins from the 1960s and 1970s because these years produced enormous quantities of copper cents that remain widely available in circulation. The 1971 penny is often considered an ideal starting point for new collectors due to its age, accessibility, and the variety of possible errors. The story of the coin also reflects broader economic conditions of the early 1970s. During that period, the United States faced rising inflation, changes in global currency systems, and increasing demand for small change in everyday commerce. The U.S. Mint responded by dramatically increasing production to ensure enough coins were available for circulation. Massive production numbers meant that minting equipment operated under intense pressure. Dies were used for longer periods, presses ran continuously, and quality control systems sometimes struggled to keep pace with the volume. Under such conditions, the chances of unusual errors increased, allowing coins like the 1971 penny to enter circulation with fascinating imperfections. Collectors today continue to document new varieties discovered in old coin collections or rolls of bank-wrapped pennies. Each discovery adds another chapter to the history of the coin and expands our understanding of how minting processes evolved during the 20th century. Another reason the 1971 penny attracts attention is the psychology of hidden treasure. Because the coin looks almost identical to billions of others, valuable examples can remain unnoticed for decades. A rare error coin may pass through countless hands before someone recognizes its significance. Stories circulate within the numismatic community about collectors who discovered valuable coins in everyday change. Some found rare varieties in jars inherited from relatives, while others discovered them during routine bank roll searches. These stories inspire collectors to keep looking closely at even the most common coins. The presence of the word liberty on the obverse adds a symbolic dimension to the coin story. Although the design features Abraham Lincoln rather than the classical liberty figure used on earlier coins, the inscription continues a long tradition of representing freedom and democratic ideals on American currency. When collectors examine a 1971 penny, they often pay particular attention to the word liberty because many double die errors appear in those letters. The same word that symbolizes American ideals can also reveal the subtle signs of a rare minting mistake. The small letter D beneath the date represents the Denver Mint, one of the most important coin production facilities in the United States. Located in Colorado, the Denver Mint has produced billions of coins for circulation since the early 20th century. Its mint mark serves as a tiny signature indicating where the coin was struck. Repunched mint mark errors involving the letter D offer an intriguing glimpse into the mint's working practices during that era. Before modern digital engraving techniques were introduced, mint workers had to manually punch the mint mark into each working die. If the punch slipped or was misaligned, they would attempt to correct it by striking the letter again. The resulting coins sometimes show overlapping impressions of the mint mark, creating a collectible variety. Over time, numismatists have catalogued many such varieties, assigning them identification numbers and documenting their distinguishing characteristics. This systematic study allows collectors to compare coins and identify specific die varieties produced during particular minting runs. Although most 1971D pennies remain worth only small amounts, the market for rare errors continues to grow. Online auctions and coin shows provide platforms where collectors can buy and sell unusual varieties. The excitement of discovering a coin worth hundreds or thousands of dollars from a simple 1-cent piece keeps the market active. Experts often advise collectors to examine coins carefully under magnification and compare them with known error listings. Even small details such as unusual spacing in lettering, irregular shapes in the mint mark, or unexpected raised lines across the surface may indicate a collectible error. The story of the Liberty 1-cent 1971D Lincoln penny ultimately reminds us that history often hides in the smallest objects. A coin that millions of people once used to buy candy or pay bus fare can become a miniature time capsule reflecting the technology, economy, and culture of its era. More than half a century after its creation, the 1971D penny continues to circulate through collections, coin jars, and bank rolls around the world. Some remain ordinary pieces of copper worth only a cent. Others carry subtle signs of minting accidents that transform them into prized collectibles. The difference between those two outcomes can be as small as a faint doubled letter, a slightly misplaced mint mark, or an unusual strike that occurred for a fraction of a second inside a roaring mint press decades ago. For collectors and treasure hunters alike, that possibility is what makes the search so captivating. Somewhere among billions of nearly identical coins, a rare Liberty 1971D penny may still be waiting to be discovered, quietly hiding its extraordinary value behind the humble face of a 1-cent coin. A small copper coin slides across a table. It looks ordinary, the kind of coin people drop into jars or forget in pockets. But imagine discovering that this tiny 1-cent coin from 1976 could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars because of a tiny mistake made inside a minting machine almost half a century ago. Somewhere in circulation, hidden among billions of ordinary pennies, rare 1976 Liberty Lincoln cents exist that collectors eagerly search for. The difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth hundreds of dollars might be nothing more than a small doubling of letters, a misaligned strike, or a subtle mint mark error. The story of the Liberty 1-cent 1976 Lincoln penny is not simply about money. It is about history, craftsmanship, accidents in minting, and the fascinating possibility that valuable treasure may still be hiding in everyday change. The Lincoln penny is one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. It first appeared in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln. Designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, the coin marked a major shift in American coinage because it became the first regular circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure rather than a symbolic representation of liberty. For decades the design remained recognizable, with Lincoln's profile facing right on the obverse and different reverse designs appearing over time. By 1976 the penny belonged to the Lincoln Memorial Series, which had been introduced in 1959. The reverse of these coins shows the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with tiny columns and a small image of Lincoln's statue visible inside the building when examined closely. This remarkable detail makes the Lincoln Memorial penny unique because it depicts the same person on both sides of the coin. The obverse shows Lincoln's portrait, while the reverse quietly includes the statue of Lincoln within the memorial structure. The year 1976 holds special significance in American history. It marked the bicentennial celebration of the United States, commemorating 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Many coins that year received special bicentennial designs, such as the quarter, half dollar, and dollar. The penny, however, kept its traditional Lincoln Memorial design, continuing the familiar appearance that Americans had known for nearly 2 decades. Even though the design remained unchanged, the coins produced in 1976 carry historical meaning simply because they were minted during the bicentennial year. Many Americans saved coins from that time as souvenirs of the celebration. Over time some of these coins entered collections, while others continued circulating through stores, banks, and homes across the country. In 1976 the United States Mint produced pennies at 3 major facilities. The Philadelphia Mint struck coins without a mint mark. The Denver Mint produced coins with a small letter D beneath the date. The San Francisco Mint struck proof coins marked with the letter S, which were specially produced for collectors. Altogether, more than 8.8 billion Lincoln pennies were produced in 1976, making them extremely common in general circulation. The Philadelphia Mint alone produced over 4.6 billion coins, while the Denver Mint struck more than 4.2 billion pennies that year. With numbers this large, it might seem impossible for any of these coins to become valuable. Most examples found in circulation still trade for their face value of 1 cent. Yet collectors know that rarity is not always determined by the number of coins produced. Instead, rarity often emerges from the survival of high-quality examples and from unusual errors that occurred during the minting process. The 1976 Lincoln penny was made from an alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc. The coin weighs about 3.11 grams and measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter with a plain edge. These specifications had been standard for decades and would remain unchanged until the early 1980s, when rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to alter the composition of the cent. Because the 1976 penny belongs to the traditional copper era of Lincoln cents, many collectors enjoy preserving them in collections of pre-1982 copper coins. The reddish metal gradually darkens over time, changing color from bright red to red-brown and eventually to deep brown as oxidation occurs. Condition plays a major role in determining the value of any coin. Coins that remain in uncirculated condition with sharp details and original luster are far more desirable than those that have been worn down through years of use. A typical circulated 1976 penny may only be worth 1 to 5 cents to collectors. However, coins preserved in mint state condition can be worth significantly more. Uncirculated examples graded around MS-65 can sell for several dollars, while extremely well-preserved coins graded MS-67 or higher can bring hundreds of dollars at auction. In fact, exceptionally rare examples graded MS-68 have sold for thousands of dollars because so few coins survive in such flawless condition. But the true excitement surrounding the 1976 Lincoln penny comes from the world of mint errors. These unusual coins were created when something went wrong during the minting process. Each error tells a story about the complex machinery used to strike coins at incredible speed. The process of making a coin begins with large sheets of metal. Circular blanks known as planchets are punched out from these sheets. The planchets are cleaned and polished before entering high-pressure coin presses where engraved dies strike them with tremendous force. Each press can produce hundreds of coins per minute. With such high-speed production, occasional mistakes are inevitable. When these mistakes escape quality control and enter circulation, they become collectible error coins that attract attention from numismatists around the world. One of the most popular types of mint errors is the double die variety. A double die occurs during the creation of the working die used to strike coins. If the die receives two slightly misaligned impressions during the manufacturing process, the resulting coins display doubled images in parts of the design. On 1976 pennies, doubling can sometimes appear in the words Liberty or I in God We Trust. Collectors carefully examine coins with magnifying lenses searching for this doubling. Strong double die examples can be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100 depending on their clarity and condition. Another intriguing error involves repunched mint marks. During the 1970s, mint marks were still punched into the dies by hand. If the punch was slightly misaligned and struck more than once, the mint mark could appear doubled or show overlapping impressions. This type of error often appears on Denver coins with the D mint mark. A repunched mint mark on a 1976 D penny might show faint extra lines around the letter D or a shadow-like second impression beneath the main mint mark. These subtle details are difficult to see without magnification, which is why collectors often study coins carefully under microscopes. Off-center strikes represent another dramatic and visually striking error. This occurs when the planchet is not properly aligned between the dies during the strike. As a result, part of the design is missing and the coin displays a blank crescent shape where the metal was not struck. The value of off-center coins depends largely on how much of the design is missing and whether the date remains visible. Off-center 1976 pennies showing 20 to 50% misalignment can sell for $50 to $200 or more depending on condition. Clipped planchet errors occur earlier in the production process. When the planchets are punched from metal sheets, the cutting machine may accidentally overlap with a previously cut circle. This creates a blank with a curved section missing from its edge. When such a planchet is struck with the coin design, the resulting penny shows a smooth curved gap along its rim. Collectors often enjoy clipped planchet coins because the missing section reveals the raw structure of the coin. Depending on the size of the clip and the coin's condition, a 1976 clipped planchet penny might sell for $15 to $150. Another fascinating category of errors involves die cracks and die breaks. Over time, the steel dies used in coin presses experience tremendous stress from striking thousands of planchets. Eventually, small cracks may form in the metal. When a cracked die strikes a coin, metal flows into the crack and creates a raised line on the coin's surface. If the crack becomes larger and a piece of the die breaks away entirely, the resulting coins may display a raised blob known as a cud. Minor die cracks are relatively common and may add only a few dollars to the coin's value, while large cuds can increase the value to $20 or even $100 depending on their appearance. Among die crack varieties, one of the most famous is known as the BIE error. This occurs when a crack forms between the letters B and E in the word liberty, creating a small vertical line that resembles the letter I. The result makes the word appear to read BERTY. Many collectors enjoy searching for these errors because they are relatively easy to recognize. BIE errors on 1976 pennies typically sell for $5 to $40 depending on how strong the crack appears and the overall condition of the coin. Struck-through errors are another unusual variety. These occur when a foreign object such as grease, dust, or metal debris becomes trapped between the die and the planchet during the strike. The object blocks part of the design from forming properly, leaving a depression or missing detail on the coin. Some struck-through coins display fascinating patterns that resemble fabric textures or irregular shapes across the surface. Because each struck-through error is unique, collectors often prize them as miniature works of accidental art. Another possibility is the broadstrike error. In this situation, the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during the strike fails to engage properly. Without the collar, the metal spreads outward, producing a coin that is wider and flatter than normal with no defined rim. Coins with multiple strikes represent some of the most dramatic mint errors. Occasionally, a coin fails to eject from the press after the first strike and receives additional strikes as the dies continue operating. The result may show multiple overlapping images of Lincoln or repeated lettering across the coin. Although extremely rare, multi-strike error coins can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their appearance. The chaotic patterns created by repeated strikes often make these coins visually striking and highly collectible. The 1976 penny also attracts attention because of the Denver Mint's massive production that year. With more than 4 billion coins struck in Denver alone, the Mint operated under intense production pressure. Dies were used for extended periods and presses operated continuously to meet the demand for coins. Under such conditions, it is not surprising that small errors occasionally slipped through the Mint's inspection systems. Each error coin that entered circulation became a small piece of numismatic history. Collectors today still search through rolls of pennies from banks hoping to discover rare varieties. This activity, known as coin roll hunting, has become a popular hobby around the world. Enthusiasts purchase rolls of coins and carefully inspect each one for unusual features or mint errors. Because billions of copper pennies from the 1970s remain in circulation, coin roll hunters frequently encounter 1976 pennies during their searches. Although most examples are ordinary, the possibility of finding a rare error coin keeps collectors motivated. High-grade coins are another reason collectors study the 1976 penny closely. Even without errors, coins preserved in exceptional condition can become valuable due to their rarity. Only a tiny fraction of coins survive decades of circulation without scratches, stains, or wear. Collectors often classify copper pennies by color as well as condition. Freshly minted coins display a bright red color known as red. As they age, they gradually darken to red-brown and eventually to brown. Coins that retain their original red color are usually more valuable than those that have darkened. A 1976 penny graded MS-67 with full red color can bring hundreds of dollars in the collector market. Such coins are prized because they represent near-perfect examples of the original mint condition. The fascination with these coins extends beyond collectors to historians and enthusiasts interested in the technology of coin production. Each mint era reveals a moment when the complex machinery of the mint behaved unexpectedly. When examining a 1976 penny, collectors often focus on several key areas. They inspect the date and lettering for signs of doubling. They check the mint mark for evidence of repunching. They study the edges for clips or unusual shapes. They examine the surface for cracks, cuds, or struck-through marks. Even the smallest detail can transform an ordinary coin into a valuable collectible. A faint extra line on a letter or a subtle misalignment of the design may represent a rare die variety known to specialists. The continuing popularity of Lincoln pennies reflects the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln himself. As the 16th President of the United States, Lincoln led the country through the Civil War and played a central role in ending slavery. His image on the penny has become one of the most familiar portraits in American culture. The inscription "Liberty" on the obverse connects the coin to a much older tradition in American coinage. Before Lincoln's portrait appeared, most U.S. coins featured symbolic images of liberty representing freedom and independence. Even though the design changed to include Lincoln's portrait, the word liberty remained as a reminder of those ideals. For collectors studying the 1976 penny, the letters of liberty often become the focus of intense examination. Doubling, die cracks, and BE errors frequently appear in that area, making it one of the most important parts of the coin to inspect. The small mint mark beneath the date also attracts attention. On Denver coins, the letter D indicates the coin was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. For collectors searching for repunched mint mark errors, this tiny letter becomes one of the most important features of the coin. The market for error coins has grown significantly with the rise of online auctions and coin collecting communities. Collectors from around the world can now share discoveries, compare varieties, and trade rare coins through digital marketplaces. Occasionally, a rare error coin appears unexpectedly in circulation or in an old collection. When such discoveries occur, they remind collectors that valuable treasures may still be hidden among ordinary coins. The Liberty 1-cent 1976 Lincoln penny may appear simple, but its history is filled with fascinating possibilities. It represents a moment in American history during the bicentennial celebration, a time when the nation reflected on 2 centuries of independence. At the same time, the coin carries the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and the technological achievements of the United States Mint. Billions were produced, yet within those billions lie small variations and errors that capture the attention of collectors. For many people, the penny is the smallest and least important coin in their pocket. Yet to numismatists it represents a world of discovery. A coin that once purchased a piece of candy or disappeared into a jar may someday reveal itself as a rare collectible worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The next time someone encounters a 1976 Lincoln penny, it may be worth taking a closer look. The difference between an ordinary coin and a valuable one might be hidden in a tiny detail barely visible to the naked eye. In the quiet surface of that small copper coin lies a story of history, craftsmanship, mistakes, and the enduring excitement of discovery. A small copper-colored coin sits quietly in the palm of a hand. Most people would glance at it and immediately dismiss it as nothing more than a single cent. It might be tossed into a jar, dropped into a vending machine, or forgotten in the corner of a wallet. Yet imagine if that same ordinary coin could secretly be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars because of a tiny mistake that happened during its creation. Somewhere among the billions of pennies produced in the early 1990s, a few rare 1993 Lincoln cents exist that collectors dream of discovering. These coins may look almost identical to the pennies people spend every day, but subtle differences such as mint mark errors, doubled letters, unusual strikes, or rare die varieties can transform them from pocket change into remarkable numismatic treasures. The Liberty 1-cent 1993 Lincoln penny belongs to one of the most recognizable coin series in American history. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front of the coin has appeared on the penny since 1909, making it one of the longest-running designs in the world. The coin was originally introduced to honor Lincoln's 100th birthday, and it quickly became a familiar symbol of American currency. The design of the coin was created by the sculptor Victor David Brenner. On the obverse, Lincoln's profile faces right with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, the word "Liberty" on the left side, and the year of minting on the right. Beneath the date appears the mint mark when applicable. On the reverse of the coin used between 1959 and 2008 appears the Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., with the words United States of America and 1 cent surrounding the structure. The Lincoln Memorial penny is unique in the world of coin design because it features the same historical figure on both sides. The portrait of Lincoln appears on the front, and if someone looks closely at the columns of the memorial on the reverse, they can actually see a tiny representation of Lincoln's statue sitting inside the building. By 1993 the Lincoln Memorial penny had already been in circulation for more than 3 decades. During that time the coin had become a constant part of everyday American life. Pennies were used in grocery stores, school cafeterias, parking meters, and vending machines across the country. Although the coin represented the smallest unit of American currency, billions were produced each year to keep up with demand. The year 1993 was a period of massive coin production for the United States Mint. 3 mint facilities were responsible for producing Lincoln cents that year. The Philadelphia Mint produced coins without a mint mark. The Denver Mint produced coins with the letter D beneath the date. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins for collectors marked with the letter S. The total number of coins produced was enormous. The Philadelphia Mint struck more than 5.68 billion pennies in 1993, while the Denver Mint produced more than 6.42 billion coins. The San Francisco Mint created just over 3.3 million proof pennies intended primarily for collectors rather than circulation. With more than 12 billion coins created in a single year, the 1993 penny might seem like one of the most common coins in existence. In ordinary circulated condition, these coins typically remain worth their face value of 1 cent. However, the world of coin collecting reveals that even extremely common coins can become valuable when unusual circumstances occur during their production. Tiny mistakes made during the minting process can create rare varieties that collectors eagerly seek out. Because billions of coins are produced, even a small fraction containing unusual errors can lead to highly collectible examples. To understand why these mistakes occur, it helps to understand the coin production process. Modern pennies are made from a core of zinc covered by a thin plating of copper. This composition was introduced in 1982 when rising copper prices made the older solid copper pennies too expensive to produce. The minting process begins with large sheets of zinc metal. Circular blanks known as planchets are punched from these sheets. Each planchet is then coated with copper plating to give the coin its familiar reddish color. After cleaning and polishing, the blanks are sent into coin presses where they are struck with engraved steel dies. Each coin press operates at extremely high speed. In many cases, hundreds of coins can be produced every minute. The dies strike the planchet with tremendous pressure, imprinting the design of Lincoln's portrait on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. Because the machines operate so quickly, occasional mistakes happen. When these mistakes escape the mint's inspection systems and enter circulation, they become error coins that collectors study and preserve. One of the most fascinating varieties associated with the 1993 penny is the close AM error. On normal Lincoln Memorial pennies, the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse are separated slightly. In the close AM variety, those letters appear nearly touching each other due to the use of a proof-style reverse die on circulation coins. This subtle difference can make a dramatic impact on value. Some examples of the 1993 close AM penny in high grades have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition. Coins graded around MS-65 may reach values approaching $1,000, while exceptionally well-preserved coins have sold for more than $2,000 at auction. Another highly famous error associated with the 1993 Lincoln cent is known as the mule error. In coin collecting, a mule occurs when two dies intended for different coins are accidentally paired together in a press. The result is a coin with mismatched designs. In the case of the 1993 mule penny, the coin was struck using the obverse die of a Lincoln penny and the reverse die of a Roosevelt dime. Instead of the Lincoln Memorial appearing on the back of the coin, the reverse shows the torch and branches design normally found on a dime. This spectacular mint mistake is extremely rare. Only a handful of these coins are known to exist. One example graded in mint condition sold at auction for more than $50,000, making it one of the most valuable modern penny errors ever discovered. Another commonly collected error involves doubled dies. A doubled die occurs when the die used to strike coins receives more than one impression during its creation. If those impressions are slightly misaligned, the resulting coins display doubled images in the lettering or design elements. On 1993 pennies, doubling is sometimes visible in the word liberty or in the phrase "In God we trust." Although the doubling may appear subtle, collectors value these coins because they represent a distinct die variety produced during the minting process. Typical doubled die examples from 1993 may sell for $20 to $200 depending on the clarity of the doubling and the condition of the coin. Off-center strikes represent another interesting category of mint errors. These occur when the planchet is not perfectly positioned between the dies when the coin is struck. As a result, part of the design is missing and the coin displays a blank curved area along one edge. Off-center pennies from 1993 vary widely in appearance. Minor examples showing only a small portion of the design missing might sell for $15 to $30. More dramatic examples with about half of the design missing can bring $50 to $100 or more depending on condition. Another unusual possibility involves coins struck on the wrong planchet. During production, it is possible for planchets intended for other denominations to accidentally enter the penny striking machines. When this happens, the resulting coin may appear smaller, larger, or made from a different metal. For example, a penny design might be struck onto a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank. These coins immediately attract attention because their size and appearance look unusual. When authenticated, such wrong planchet errors can be worth thousands of dollars because of their rarity and dramatic visual differences. Die cracks and cut errors also appear on some 1993 pennies. Dies used to strike coins eventually wear out due to the intense pressure placed on them during production. When cracks form in the steel dies, the metal from the planchet flows into the cracks during striking, leaving raised lines on the coin's surface. If a piece of the die breaks off entirely, the resulting coins display raised blobs known as cuds where part of the design is missing. Larger cut errors on 1993 pennies can sell for $50 to $300 depending on their size and location on the coin. One of the most recognizable minor varieties is known as the BIE error. This occurs when a die crack forms between the letters B and E in the word liberty. The crack creates a vertical line that resembles the letter I, making the word appear to read BIRTY. Although BIE errors are not extremely rare, they are popular among collectors because they are easy to identify. A 1993 penny with a clear BIE error might sell for several dollars, typically between $3 and $10 depending on condition. Another type of mint mistake involves strike-through errors. These occur when a foreign object such as grease, dust, or metal fragments becomes trapped between the die and the planchet during the strike. The object prevents part of the design from forming properly, leaving an unusual depression or missing detail on the coin. Strike-through errors can create fascinating patterns across the coin's surface. Some display irregular shapes while others reveal the texture of the material that was struck into the coin. Because every strike-through error is unique, collectors often treat them as one-of-a-kind pieces. Coins struck with grease-filled dies represent another interesting variety. When grease accumulates inside parts of the die, certain design elements may not strike fully onto the coin. This can result in missing letters, weak details, or smooth areas where the design should appear. Although grease strike errors are relatively common, dramatic examples where large portions of the design are missing can still attract collectors and sell for modest premiums above face value. The condition of a coin also plays a major role in determining its value. Even without errors, coins preserved in extremely high grades can command significant prices. Numismatists evaluate coins using a grading scale that ranges from heavily worn to perfect mint condition. A typical circulated 1993 penny might be worth only 1 cent to 10 cents depending on its condition. Uncirculated coins graded around MS-60 to MS-65 may sell for a few dollars. Exceptionally well-preserved coins graded above MS-67 can reach prices ranging from $20 to $100 or more. The reason for these higher prices is simple. Although billions of coins were produced, most entered circulation where they experienced years of wear and damage. Very few coins survived in pristine condition with their original red copper color and full mint luster. Collectors also classify copper-plated pennies by color. Fresh coins display a bright reddish appearance known as red. As they age, oxidation gradually darkens the surface to red-brown and eventually to brown. Coins that retain their original red color are typically more desirable and valuable. The zinc core of modern pennies introduces another interesting phenomenon known as plating errors. Because the copper layer covering the zinc core is extremely thin, sometimes the plating process fails or becomes damaged. This can create bubbles, peeling surfaces, or missing copper areas that reveal the gray zinc beneath. Such plating errors became more common after the United States Mint switched to copper-plated zinc coins in the 1980s. Although many of these errors are minor, unusual examples can still attract attention from collectors who enjoy studying minting anomalies. The appeal of searching for valuable pennies has led to a hobby known as coin roll hunting. In this activity, collectors obtain rolls of coins from banks and carefully inspect each coin for unusual features or rare varieties. Because billions of pennies from the 1990s remain in circulation, collectors frequently encounter 1993 pennies during their searches. Most are ordinary coins worth face value, but the possibility of discovering a rare error keeps enthusiasts motivated. Stories occasionally emerge of collectors discovering valuable coins in unexpected places. Some have found rare varieties in jars of spare change inherited from relatives. Others discovered unusual error coins while sorting through bank rolls at home. These discoveries remind collectors that valuable coins may still be hiding in everyday circulation. A rare 1993 penny might pass through dozens of hands before someone finally recognizes its significance. The Lincoln penny also holds a special place in American cultural history. For generations it has been the first coin children learned to recognize and collect. Many people remember filling coin albums with pennies from different years, searching for missing dates in their collections. The presence of the word Liberty on the obverse connects the coin to an older tradition in American coinage. Before Lincoln's portrait appeared on the penny, most U.S. coins featured symbolic images representing the concept of liberty. When Lincoln replaced those earlier designs, the word remained as a reminder of the ideals of freedom and independence. For collectors examining a 1993 penny, the letters of liberty often become one of the most important areas to inspect. Doubling, die cracks, and BAE errors frequently appear in this region of the coin. The small mint mark beneath the date also attracts attention. On Denver coins, the letter D identifies the coin's origin at the Denver Mint in Colorado. Philadelphia coins from that year display no mint mark, while proof coins from the San Francisco Mint carry the letter S. Each mint produced coins using different sets of dies and equipment, which means certain varieties may appear only on coins from a specific mint. For example, some close AM varieties are more frequently associated with coins from the Philadelphia Mint. The study of these small differences forms an important branch of numismatics known as variety attribution. Experts examine coins under microscopes and compare tiny details in lettering, spacing, and design features to identify specific die varieties. Over time, researchers have cataloged many different varieties of Lincoln pennies, giving collectors a detailed roadmap for identifying rare examples. The discovery of new varieties occasionally occurs when collectors examine old coins with fresh attention. Although most 1993 pennies remain ordinary coins worth only a cent, the possibility of rare errors makes them exciting for collectors. A coin worth thousands of dollars could still be hiding among billions of ordinary examples. This possibility continues to inspire people to examine their change more closely. The difference between a common penny and a valuable one might be nothing more than a slight difference in the spacing of two letters or a subtle error in the minting process. The Liberty 1 cent 1993 Lincoln penny therefore represents far more than its tiny monetary value. It tells a story about American history, the technology of modern minting, and the unpredictable nature of manufacturing on such a massive scale. Within the billions of coins produced that year lies a hidden world of variations, mistakes, and rare discoveries waiting to be found. For collectors and treasure hunters alike, the humble penny continues to offer the thrill of possibility. Somewhere in a jar of spare change or in a forgotten corner of a wallet, a rare 1993 Lincoln penny might still be waiting quietly to reveal its true value.